Weencast, a Ween podcast with Shane and Rory. Hey, what's up? This is Shane.
And this is Rory.
And this is Weencast. And we welcome you to a new episode.
Yes, hello everybody. Hope you are having a great evening like I am.
So we are here to talk about another current show that we just got to see, still fresh in our memory, which was last Friday, December 14th at the Met, the Metropolitan Opera House in Philadelphia. And it was an absolutely amazing show.
Yes, awesome show at the Philly Met, everybody. Hell yeah.
We have tons of stuff that we want to talk about for that show. First, just a couple of quick shout outs. We were lucky enough to be guests on another podcast called Ear Floss. It's a music podcast, a music history podcast. Our new friend Kenny from Ear Floss asked us to come on a few weeks ago and record basically a Ween episode. So we had a ton of fun doing that, and we want to thank Kenny, and please check that out. It's called Ear Floss, a music history podcast.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great time chatting about Ween, and Kenny's an awesome guy. Check out Ear Floss. Ear Floss is awesome.
Yeah. We do still have some of the Urchin swag still available, which is the downloads that were sent to us by Tomato. We had talked about them on our last podcast. So we have digital download cards that were donated for the show, for the Sound of Urchin albums Rejoice and Black Castle. We have a few left of each, but I only have one of each of the bonus CDs. So the bonus CDs are The Crypt, which will come with Black Castle, and Rock and Roll is True, which comes with Rejoice. Either way, with the bonus CD or not, it's $10. You can hit us up on Patreon. It's patreon.com//Weencastpodcast, or just email us. Hit us up on Twitter at Weencastpodcast, and we'll work it all out. A quick thank you to a new friend, Troy, for sending us a copy of his CD. It's Kitty City. The band is called Kitty City. The album is called Entanglement. Really cool EP. Check them out. It's kittycityband.bandcamp.com, and we want to thank Troy for that. And
yeah, thank you, Troy.
If I could just plug the man, the myth, the legend, Fred Moore, started his own quasi-podcast. It's on YouTube. It's called The Invitational Show, which is something we talked to Bill Fowler about. It's the Invitational that they have weekly at John and Peter's. And Fred started a really cool show on YouTube where he talks about the different musicians and then plays clips from different nights of the Invitational. And of course, anything done by Fred is high quality. He does the best recordings. So it's really cool. Check it out if you're interested in the New Hope scene at all. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's one of the best music scenes in any little town.
Amen.
And the Invitational is a big part of that, so check it out.
Amen. So this is a show we had been looking forward to basically, I want to say all year, but it was only really announced like in the fall.
Yeah, since it was announced, we were obviously looking forward to it. Having gone to the show exactly 1 year ago to the day that was at the Philadelphia Met, it just seemed like kismet when this came on the horizon. When the interwebs, let us know that Ween was going to play at the Philly Met a year to the day that they played last year.
Yeah.
We knew we had to be there.
Absolutely. Should we just talk about getting down there a little bit, or how we planned on getting to the show?
Sure. So, we don't have to spend too much time on that. We all met up in Center City, Philadelphia. Amy, my wife and I, were up for the weekend, so we had a hotel in Center City. So Shane, his brother Craig, and Mike came in, and basically we met up at the hotel, and then we had plans to try to pass out stickers to some Ween heads before we got to the show. So we took the subway up to the Prohibition Bar, and we and Shane, if you want to talk a little bit about this, you got yourself out there and were passing out stickers left and right like a fiend.
Well, I do have to admit I was a little intimidated because you walked in the door. And right there was one long table, probably like 10 people on each side, so like a table of 20. And I mean, you could tell they were all people that were there for the Ween show. I'm pretty sure there were a couple of dudes that had Ween shirts on. I specifically remember seeing the one guy had a Dean Ween Group shirt on. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? One of the things I told myself I was going to do was hand out the stickers. And I actually remember even saying to Amy, everybody sitting at that table right now is about to get a sticker, and if they make fun of me, they make fun of me. So I went over and I just started plunking down stickers. I went over to the one end of the table and just started plunking down stickers, and their conversation just went completely silent for about 10 seconds. Like, what is this dude doing? And I just kept going. And then
that was great. A lot of awesome.
No, I was just going to say, like, and a few seconds after me awkwardly just plunking down stickers on the table for every person, a couple of them just started, like, screaming. Just like, yes! So that really made me feel good. And the one girl at the table gave me a couple of high fives, and it was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, let's get rowdy. Come on, So that was really fun.
A good time had by all. I want to give a shout out to a guy that I chatted with briefly who had actually listened to the Bill Fowler interview episode that we just recently did, and that was awesome.
Yeah,
it was so cool to hear that someone out there is actually listening and enjoying what we have to say. But I forgot to get his name, so sorry, dude. But like, if you message us or whatever, you can tell me who you are, and
I think I had walked away.
Be sure to actually acknowledge that.
Yeah, I think I had walked away for a second, and you were talking to him. And when I came back, you were like, "Oh, he listened to the Bill Fowler episode," and I was like, "What?" So I was like, "Yes."
So that's cool. So,
yeah, that was really cool.
So thank you, everyone out there who does listen. Anyway, we made our way up to the show. Quick shout out to Santucci's, because they put the sauce on top, Philly style, and it's a really it's a good sit down pizza shop on the way to the venue. So we rocked that out, and then made our way up to the venue.
Yeah, we saw a few other Ween heads in there as well. Not quite as many as the Prohibition Bar, but it was nice to have just like a quick, calm, quiet, bite to eat for a few minutes and just kind of, chat amongst ourselves for a minute or two.
Yeah, so anyway, we roll up to the venue. The initial impression is it was pretty chaotic. I don't remember it being that way the first time we saw them at the Philly Met the year earlier, but it was definitely really kind of crowded in the doorways. It was like really like there was, I don't know if it was delays in getting the doors open or getting people processed or what it was, but it's definitely started out, it was definitely a packed event, and there were people milling all about.
Yeah, the lobby was pretty full. One thing that happened right as we were walking in was kind of odd. My brother Craig was along with us, which he hasn't been with them. He hasn't been with us to see them since they've been back. It's been a solid 7-8 years or so since he's been with us. I don't know. I have to go back and look at the notes and stuff. But anyway, so he was walking in. He was in front of me as we were going through the gates, and I don't know if he picked it up on like the table where you have to like take the stuff out of your pockets and walk through the metal detector, or if it was on the floor, but he found a pin, one of the actual handmade pins that you see some artists make these days for, Ween or Fish or the Dead or whatever it might be. But this was a pin, and I still don't know what it was really in reference to. It was a mountain, and instead of like snow on the mountain, it had a little like milk carton that was pouring like milk onto the top of the mountain, and the little milk carton said heavy cream. And he picked this up, and he was like,
cream carton.
Yeah, it was a heavy cream like pin. I don't know if it was like in reference to like fire on the mountain, like you got to put that out with some heavy cream, or what. That's the only thing I could come up with. I don't know. But he's like showing me
tenuous,
this.
But
he was like showing
That's
me.
all you got.
Yeah, he was like showing me this, like, what is this for? Like, what is this from? And I was looking at it and I'm like, dude, I don't know. And I think he was just getting ready to sort of like throw it out. And I'm like, well, don't throw it out. It's probably like a $10, $15 pin. I mean, I know those things aren't cheap, and someone would like to have that, I'm sure. So we had just gotten done talking about it and him showing, and then this dude walks in right behind us with a whole hat full of pins. So I'm like, hey, I just started talking to him. I'm like, hey, look at this dude. I'm like, there's a hat full of pins. I gave him one of our stickers and we started talking for a minute. And I said, do you make those? And he said, no, but he took the hat off and he was going through his whole hat and he was telling us all the artists. He knew all the artists' names of who made those pins, which I thought was really cool because I can't keep track of that sort of thing. But they were all really cool, like Ween related pins, and he knew all of the artists that made them. So my brother gave that guy the heavy cream pin. He's like, do you want this? And he was like, yeah. So he took that and he put that on his hat. So even though it wasn't technically Ween related, it was still a cool, like, handmade, artist made pin, and he added that to his hat. So I thought that was a good place for that pin to line up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
it's awesome to get a pin where it needs to go.
Yeah, right. And also, real quick, so as we're talking to him, Michelle, who I don't know her personally, but I know that she is the proprietor for God Save the Queens in New Hope, walked past and he recognized her and just kind of like, oh, hey, how are you? And I quick handed her one of the stickers as well as she like walked past. So I know that she got one of the stickers as well. But both of them were really cool, and I was able to give stickers to both of them. So that was one of the cool things that happened in the lobby before the show.
No, it's awesome. Any New Hope shout-out's a good shout-out.
Yeah, totally.
So should we go through the set list?
Yeah, please.
Cool. So all right. So they opened with pork roll, egg, and cheese. You got spinal meningitis, happy colored marbles, bananas and blow, transdermal celebration, tick, seconds, motherfuckers, object, going gets tough from the get-go, learning to love, exactly where I'm at, flutes of the motherfucking cheese, a tear for Eddie, roses are free, the Argus, the Stallion Part 3, push the little daisies, Buckingham Green, tried and true, touch my tutor, Gabrielle, stroker ace, freedom of 76, of course, Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony, Ocean Man, Johnny on the Spot, Voodoo Lady, this keeps going, the Mollusk, the main set ends with Your Party, and then the encore is Big Jim, She Wanted to Leave, Birthday Boy, What Diener Was Talking About, and I Got's a Weasel.
That's one hell of a set list. It's actually 34 songs, really?
Yes, if our numbers are correct, 34 songs, dude.
That's crazy, man.
That's a massive set list.
That's crazy.
And so, just a couple quick things. The show was just it was about 2 hours and 35 minutes long, which is pretty long for a Ween show. I feel like that I've been to anytime recently, I guess. I think most of them don't tend to be that long, so I feel like the show was a little longer than I was thinking it would be. And that's a lot of songs, dude. That's a lot of songs.
Yeah, man. That is a lot of songs. Well, a couple of things. The first thing I have to throw in there, and I'm not trying to brag about it or anything like that, but we were in different locations. So Rory and Amy were up on the first mezzanine or loge, I guess is the actual.
No, we were on the mezzanine.
Okay.
We were not on the loge.
Okay.
We were not on the loge.
Yeah, I don't know.
We were in the mezzanine. I was right on the railing in the center of the mezzanine, so it was
okay.
Pretty sweet. It was just open air in front of me, and I could sit or stand as I wanted to, and had a spot to put my drink and my jacket. So I was just. It was for me. It was nice to be able to chill.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like awesome.
That's cool.
It was definitely perfect. And that big chandelier they lift up. So it ended up being a really great view of the whole stage. I mean, albeit a little bit far away,
No, that's cool.
but I thought
That's
it was a perfect bird's eye view, and like no one in front of me jostling, and like
yeah,
you know.
yeah, that's
So
nice.
yeah, I kind of wanted a little bit of a chill evening as far as that goes. So I was really glad to have that spot.
Well, I
But what about where you were?
so we were basically like in the center of the floor all the way back, literally all the way back. Like I'm talking like the last row. Okay. I was cool with it though because like I could have worked a little bit harder to get better tickets. Um but I was cool with it because last year when we went we wound up being Mike and I wound it up being like way up front. And I was like, "You know what? Maybe I'll just stick with the seats in the back this time. Go out to the lobby, mingle with the people. I wanted to pass out stickers. If I have to hit up the bathroom or whatever. And it actually wound up working out pretty well. The only thing I do have to say about our spot in general is it was really hot. For whatever reason, being on the floor all the way to the back, it was very hot.
Huh.
And we were literally like right in front of the one set of double doors that led out to the lobby. So every time those doors opened, like a nice big like burst of air would come in. So that was kind of nice. But it was a little too hot in general. But anyway, so
It's interesting how different of an experience because, dude, for me, I was chilling.
yeah, I know.
It was like
I know because I
comfortable.
know I asked Amy after the
Sorry, man.
show. No, no, no. It was okay. I know I asked Amy after the show, and she's like, "No, it was cool upstairs." And I'm like, "No, but downstairs in the back, it was fucking hot." But anyway, I'm used to that kind of atmosphere at a show, But anyway, so I had been texting with you and with Mike, who actually wound up being just like a couple rows in front of my brother Craig and I. And he's not really a big talker during the show anyway, so he was a couple rows in front of us, just sitting in the seat and chilling out. And I said, "So what's the first song going to be?" And I believe your guess was "Freedom of '76," which is a solid guess for Philly. And
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mike went with "Happy Colored Marbles." I know, well, from what I've seen of the shows from the last few years, I know that they pretty much have been always breaking out something old. So I'm like, okay, it's got to be something old, something that would fit Philly well. I'm going with Pork Roll, Egg, and Cheese. And, I got the text to prove it. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but, called it. So,
No, that's awesome, dude. I mean, it's
I
how rarely do you actually guess correctly? So it's
I
great
willed
to do it.
I willed that one to happen. I'm under that belief. But anyway, and that's one of my favorite Ween songs of all time. So can't
Yeah,
argue with
no,
that at all.
no, that's awesome, and that's something that I was gonna say about the set list is that it's like a has just about all of my favorite Ween songs.
Yep.
I mean, it's a crazy. I'll admit that when I'm looking at my creme de la creme, I tend towards more of the singer songwriter type songs that are like maybe more sort of deeper meaning and have if you know what I'm saying.
That's cool.
And
Yeah, I get it.
and so there's just so many of these songs on this at this show. I mean, I counted like we were going through the set list before, and I'm not just going to list them all again because I just read the set list, but like 10 of these songs. I mean, and I just songs like The Object is probably my favorite song off of La Cucaracha. The Argus is just awesome. The Stallion Part 3 has always been one of my favorite songs lyrically. I mean, I just think it's like a crazy like poem that's just like laid out, you know? And just so many of these songs that She Wanted to Leave um, has always been one of my favorite songs. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's just like such a sad, sort of somber song,
Mm-hmm.
melancholy. Birthday Boy, dude.
Oh
What Dina
yeah.
was talking about. A few weeks ago, you had asked me about like what's my favorite song, and I was going down a list and trying to like even just make it like a top five. And those are the songs on like She Wanted to Leave was up there. What Dina was talking about. I mean, so a lot of great songs. There wasn't a lot of jams. So the consequence, of course, means you have more songs. And so the ones that they were playing were awesome and right up my alley. I mean, Tried and True, right? I mean, just so many of these great songs, and Rare too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, Tried and True and the Argus, those are rarer songs off Quebec as far as being played live. You know, like they're not played nearly as much as like Happy Colored Marbles.
Right. Well, I mean, if we're going to cut to the chase when it comes to Rare, and I know I had texted you when this happened during the show.
Yes.
So the 7th song that they play is Seconds.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it is what it is. It's not exactly one of their best songs, you know, especially when you're talking about like singer-songwriter type songs. But what it is one of the really fucking old songs. And
it's old and ribald and just like...
But you know what? They busted that shit out like it's, you know, like it's played all the time. I mean, it was spot on. You know what I mean? And I definitely did not see that shit coming. I mean,
dude, we've never heard that live.
Never.
And Brown Bass tells me that was the 39th time that was played. So, dude, that blew my mind. I was only even like vaguely aware of that as like a Ween thing, and I was just like jogging my memory and being like,
I think I
knew it was somewhere, but it was, you know, so that was definitely blew my mind when they played that. And you know, it's funny because you mentioned that one, and that's like, you know, the sort of like one of the big moments of the show because of how rare and ridiculous that song is, and it's totally not like, it sort of also runs contrary to the general feeling of the show. There's not that many like really brown, like there's not a lot of brown shit at this show in my opinion, but that's one of them.
Right.
You know, like that's a really brown moment.
Right.
Another brown moment was right before that. They played Tick and they blew out the monitors.
Yeah, so I actually got a chance to go back and listen to not the complete show, but I did download the tracks. It's available on archive.org, so I downloaded it, put it on my iPod, and just listened to the majority of it today. And you can actually hear towards the end of Tick, you can hear like a fuzz, like, you know, as they're playing, you can hear like. And then after they end it, you know, you can hear Diener say, just blew out the monitors, like, oh yeah, they're cooked.
Well, yeah, and in the moment, I feel like I remember that, but it just happened so quickly, but I was kind of like, what was that? And then it was like, oh, we blew out the monitors.
Well, they kind of take a couple of minutes and then get going again. You know, that's one of those technical things that's over my head. It's like, so what do they have to do to fix that? Yeah,
there was a little bit of a delay there. Not too long.
A couple of minutes.
I wouldn't say a couple minutes, but it was a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. As far as... I was just
highlight of the show.
I was just going to say real quick. So just as far as seconds go, I don't think it really even like appears on anything. I think, and I didn't go back and do the research, I think it might be on Live at Cat's Cradle, because that is from like the era of just the two of them and the drum machine in the back. That's like how old that song is. That's like when that song is from. So I think it might show up on there, and that's probably the only place you're going to be able to find it, except for, you know, obviously just fucking YouTube it. But I think that's the only thing it really ever like turned up on that you could buy.
Yeah, totally. Being on this set list is notable.
Absolutely.
Sure. I'll tell you what else was notable, and that was Diener's guitar playing. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Oh my God.
Obviously, anyone who knows Ween knows that Diener is an amazing guitarist, and actually, without hyperbole, is like one of the great guitarists of his generation, if not of all time, for serious.
Definitely.
I mean, he's really good. But in particular, I mean, they didn't do a lot of jamming at this show, but just about every song features a Dean guitar solo, and he was shredding it, dude. Bananas and Blow, he was just like playing that, like, I think as fast as it's normally played, just like ripping it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Tear for Eddie. He had an amazing solo in A Tear for Eddie.
Yeah, that's a really cool, I don't know if I would call it a jam out, but I mean, basically every time they play that, it's just a beautiful song. And it's
Flutes
just...
of the Chi. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, Flutes of the Chi, absolutely. Another absolutely great one.
Flutes of the Chi, only was 37 plates 37 times, so that's not exactly a common song, and that kind of actually surprised me that it was only. I guess I didn't realize it was not that as uncommon as it is, but "Flutes of the Cheese" is a fantastic song and another one that I just love.
I think probably
Diener
because
had an awesome solo in that one as well.
it never really got played in like the height of the White Pepper era. It was only sort of like after the fact that they like broke that out again. You know what I mean? It only really started coming around like after the fact. It wasn't really one of the songs that showed up during like the White Pepper era, but just a beautiful song.
Yeah, totally. What else is going on? So the Stallion Part 3 is awesome. Jeaner actually does a solo on the guitar, and anytime Jeaner does a solo on guitar, I love what I'm seeing. So that was a lot of fun. Diener's like, nice dude, pretty brown. So, it was fun to hear him sort of bantering on stage and having a good time. And I think especially anytime they play in Philadelphia, it's always a good time.
One of the things I noticed about, just go back real quick here, Roses Are Free was in there, and again, that's always a great one, but there wasn't really any kind of like intro. They start it, and just almost immediately he starts into the lyrics, where usually it's a little bit of dun 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 dun. There's a couple of like bars of just instrumental, but I mean, Jeaner just fucking starts it like bam. So that was a little odd to me, but, great rendition as always.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting that you said that, because I wasn't even thinking of that. And but that kind of fits in with this theme of not having a lot of the jamming or the instrumental stuff. It's like, really, lyrically driven show with a lot of shorter songs. Because even songs that, Roses Are Free can be jammed out, like, on and on and on, and it wasn't really in this case.
Totally.
But, dude, I mean, what else can you... Voodoo Lady, here's a big moment we didn't fucking even get to yet. I'm skipping a little bit, but we can always bounce around. Voodoo Lady, they segued into Kiss by Prince, which was awesome. That was actually only the third time I've ever heard that done live. It's funny, I want a quick little Wikipedia anecdote. So I'm an occasional editor on Wikipedia.
Oh shit!
And when you go to Ween and look through there, it'll mention the Prince influence and things like that, and the Funkadelic and stuff, and how they put Kiss into Voodoo Lady. However, the way it used to be written made it sound like that was a common thing, like they always did it, and it's like, no, this was only 31 times, right? It's like they play Voodoo Lady all the time.
Right.
Voodoo Lady is played all the time.
Right.
But throwing Kiss in there is like rarely done. And they did it, I call it the double kiss. I'm calling it the double kiss.
Yeah, I had never seen that before.
Because they did like two verses.
Yeah,
and it was funny because Aaron like leaned into... First off, right before they did the Kiss, they did the little interlude with Kiss, Aaron leans into Diener probably to say, hey, I want to do this. And then they did it. And then I think he kind of did the same thing a little bit to indicate he wanted to do one more verse.
Yeah, you can hear him say one more when he goes back to do the second verse, which I know I've never seen that. I don't know if that's ever been done before, where they do the two verses of
I don't know. If someone
Prince
could help us out with that.
Yeah, that would be a cool little factoid. I think that might be the first time, unless they just did it within the last few years, where they did both verses like that, and I just one of the shows that we weren't at or something, or just never really.
Maybe I'm not remembering correctly either. I mean, I could be just my memory's shot, but it was cool nonetheless. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome,
and certainly a high point of the show. And it's awesome to see Aaron like pushing the limits on his vocals and trying to get to a place vocally, that he used to be back in the day, It's like everyone gets older and it's harder to maintain. Definitely singing is really hard to maintain as you get older.
Right.
Especially for someone who has such a wide range and can really do so much with his voice. So it's awesome to see him kind of nailing that and throwing in the Prince to be like, I'm going to lay this down.
Yeah,
So
it was fucking
awesome.
Great, yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I gotta say also, I Your Party is I love. I love that song. And then when that came on, and it's funny, this show kept going and going and going. So your party's already at like the 2 hour mark, I think. I don't remember exactly what time it was, but I'm already feeling like I'm wondering if there's even going to be an encore. They've been playing for 2 hours, and you know what? I'm a Ween head, and I will take whatever they give me. But I was kind of thinking, is this the end? And they put that on. I'm just thinking, what a great end to the show, and what the party just puts a smile on my face every time.
When I look at this set list, I would say that by the time like Freedom of 76 happens, which is the 23rd song for the main set, I would say by that point I was like, okay, when is the main set going to be over? That's
You're right,
that's
dude.
20
I was totally
that's
sort of
23
wondering.
songs into it, but they still do after that, Mr. Would You Please Have My Pony, Ocean Man, and then Johnny on the Spot, which is a long fucking jam. They
jam that out. They jam that out.
They jammed Johnny on the Spot, and then it was kind of like, okay, this will be the last one. This will be the last one of like the main set. No, Voodoo Lady, and then two more, Mollusk and Your Party. It's like it just kept like going.
Dude, it kept going. It like kept going. It was like the gift that kept on giving.
Yeah.
And for the holiday season, it just kept going.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, damn.
And Diener, like every song after song, his solos, the solos in every song were just like, he was just kept shredding them. Like he wasn't going to slow down. Claude has a really awesome solo in Johnny on the Spot. I want to mention that because they were few and far between. Solos by other members of the band were few and far between at this show, and so Claude's on Johnny on the Spot was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and some good use of the I'm pretty sure it was the cowbell. It was bunk 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 bunk. I think it's either the cowbell or like the block of wood. It was something.
we need more cowbell.
Yeah,
more
right.
Cowbell.
Claude, give me more cowbell. So that was a really cool jam, and it had all of like the crazy sound effects like at the end with like the explosion sounds like and all
totally.
the usual like crazy sounds and stuff for Johnny on the Spot, and the megaphone also. That was one of the things that was kind of funny because I had mentioned my brother was along with us and he hasn't, he's only been to so many shows, but he said a couple of times, he's like, when are they going to break out the megaphone? And I think it was for this, and also what else did they use the megaphone on?
I'm not remembering at the top of my head.
There was a couple of times. Oh, Stroke or Ace. So
yeah.
When they do Stroke or Ace, I'm like, megaphone, and then they broke it out again for Johnny on the Spot, and I'm with him. I love basically anything on megaphone. I love it. Can't get enough megaphone.
To quick give a little Craig shout out. He hasn't been to a lot of shows, but he, I believe, attended the show that we're going to talk about next on our next episode.
I think you're right.
I don't want to give away too much ahead of time.
No, I think you're right. I think that might have been the first time that he came with us. I think you're right.
So it'll be interesting. So we'll probably try to get his input on that show, see where he remembers. But at any rate, so Your Party finishes off the main set and its set list, and then their encore. And to have 5 songs in an encore is pretty awesome. Like you never know what you're going to get in an encore. Mm-hmm. And then the list of the songs, and to end with I Gotcha Weasel, which is like also really rare. Is just like awesome. They were sprinkling in these rarities on this show for sure. And then Birthday Boy, that's again, it's like what a great song. And then what Dina was talking about, it just kind of chilled things out. She wanted to leave. It just kind of brought things down, and it was just kind of sweet to just kind of have them like it was like the swan song, to kind of send us off.
Birthday Boy is a really beautiful song, especially for being one of the original, really old songs. Is from God, Ween, Satan. But that's just a really beautiful tune. I know it's one of your favorites, Rory, and I'll say it's one of my favorites too. It really is. Yeah. I do have to say though, looking at the encore, and I did go back and listen to this one today. I felt like Big Jim was a little disappointing. It just kind of seemed like they're just sort of like fucking around with it a little too much. And it just kind of fell a little bit flat. I don't know if you picked up on that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Not to
I
be
guess,
critical.
No, it's all good. There were a couple moments here and there in the show. I know Aaron screws up a line in Ocean Man. There's another moment where, in the Stallion, Jeaner's doing a solo, which is great, but it was a little bit, a little bit janky.
It was a little wonky, yeah.
So, I mean, it's all good. It's all good. You can have a few warts here and there. But yeah, dude, I mean, I would say that overall, just a fantastic show. A great set list is what I come away with this. Just thinking, like,
Yeah.
it's just got so many awesome songs. It's almost... you could take this set list and use it... And I don't... Maybe this is a good or a bad thing, but if you were going to introduce someone to Ween, there's a lot of stuff on this that was stuff that I would use to introduce people to Ween.
That's pretty true, too, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't use Seconds, like, as the thing to introduce you. But, like... Right? But, like, there's a lot of stuff on here that is more... And maybe that was intentional, a little bit more palatable, I guess, is another way to think of some of this, of the theme of the night. Although, obviously have, Seconds is an outstanding change of pace, or, like, Tick. But, dude,
I Got's a Weasel is the last song which is played. And if you look at Brown Bass, that's only been played 34 times.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
dude. I mean, that's crazy if you think about it. They have, like, almost 1,000 shows listed on Brown Bass.
Yeah, 34. That's fucking nuts. I mean, and especially when you're talking about one of those, like, original tunes from just the days of the two of them, because I mean they would just play all the time, and they would probably do this basically the same show every night back in those days. Now, a lot of those, if you're looking at Brown Bass, it probably only goes back so far. I mean, there's probably a lot of shows where they played songs like that were never really, like, documented. They weren't recorded, whatever. But it's like, that is just one of those songs that was probably just forgotten about for so long that it's just they played so many shows without playing something like that. And then all of a sudden, on a show like this, they bust it out. It's like, fuck.
And I gotta say, one of my appreciations for the since the reunion, these last few years, because a song like "I Got's a Weasel" is getting more. I think it's getting more playtime more recently, a little bit more so, and that's because I think since the reunion, they really are trying to pull out these gems, these more old school, these rare tunes that they don't play all the time. I think they're trying to be way more intentional now about putting some of those into shows. And I think it's awesome. I think it's great because it's like you kind of go into it wondering, like, what's the hidden gem going to be in this show? So,
well,
it's definitely awesome.
We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording the podcast, but my theory is this, because I've noticed this from the shows that we've been to since they've been back, and it's like it keeps, like, kind of coming up, that we are like, okay, there isn't too many, like, jam out songs. Okay, I mean, for this show, it's like, if you took away Voodoo Lady, because Voodoo Lady basically always has, like, a quote unquote jam. Now this one is especially awesome because it has the Prince, section in it. Okay, so I guess you would include that as, like, a jam, but really the only one that they, like, jammed out was Johnny on the Spot. There's a couple of little snippets in some of the other ones where Diener, has a little bit of, like, a jam, but this is a lot of, like, standard length Ween songs, not taking anything away from any of them. Okay, but my theory is kind of, since they've been back, they're trying to do longer shows with not as many, like, jam outs. And my take on it would be, when they're only doing 10, 15 shows over the course of a year, okay, you got to remember, back in the days of, the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, they would do, I don't know, 25 shows a summer, or however many it was, a full-length, like, tour for White Pepper, or the Paint the Town Brown tour, however many dates that was. There's just so much more, like, time to just get crazy with it. And also, I feel like a show like this is really meant for the crowd's enjoyment. This is a show we're putting on for the people. Whereas back in those days, there was sort of an element of, in my opinion, of, we're also doing this as, we want to make it fun for ourselves and we want to entertain ourselves. So like the LMLYP jam, and I know we kept bringing that up, we bring that up almost every episode, but it's like back in those days, it's like, okay, what are we going to do on that shit tonight? And if something gets fucked up or it just goes off the rails or whatever, we'll just do it again tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many shows back to back to back that, they got to have some fun with it too. And let's just see what the fuck happens. Whereas, like this was like Boston and Philly,
Yeah, dude. So another way to look at it, I just thought of, like, think of a tour shirt.
Yeah.
A tour shirt from, like, back in the day would the whole back, you'd have to be right up to it to read it because there'd be, 20 plus, 15 plus, cities on the back.
Right.
Or more. And, but the shirt at this show, I had two or three.
I think it was 3.
3. So that's just, I think, but I do want to say, I was looking in the last 3 years they had done, in 16, 17, 18, they did about 30 shows a year. That's not too bad, but they're all spread out. And then this last year they only did like 7. Next year I think they're planning to do more than that already. But nevertheless, I think they're still more spread out, and I think you're seeing that. Like you said, I think I agree with that. And I wonder if that's part of that's, like, I wonder if part of that's also becoming a product of them not playing as much. Like, is it they're not, like, the synergy's not as there because they're not in the flow as much, right? Like, if they're not in a longer tour, maybe they're not getting into that zone as much. So then they are sticking to songs with fewer instrumental and jam parts.
Well, but everything that they play is, everything they played that night was really tight. So it's not it's
totally. Like, I don't that's what's interesting is I don't have a problem with it musically in general.
No, not at all.
I think it's still fantastic, and everyone in the band is playing awesome.
It's just kind of like they seem to be leaving that jam band adjacent. They seem to be.
That's what we said on Earfloss.
Yeah, they seem
Everybody
to be.
Check out Earfloss. It's an awesome podcast that we just did an interview about Ween.
Yeah.
So check that out. But yes.
But they
Ween,
seem to be
jam adjacent.
Yeah, they seem to be just sort of leaving that behind. It doesn't really seem to be like, oh, it's part of like the jam band scene. It's like that seems to be kind of like coming to an end, I feel like. It's
we'll see how things. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah, right? I love when they fucking jam something. I love it. You know what I mean? I'm always like, okay, what are they going to jam out on, and what's going to happen?
I love every aspect of their music.
Yeah.
But yes, I feel like the jam is not as prevalent, and I'm totally with you on that. Because normally, I think back in the day, you could count on 5-6 songs a show that were like truly jammed out, something like that. And now it's definitely just a couple.
And like, it is kind of a shame that. And again, I'm not trying to criticize because this is an amazing show with so many great songs that they played. But like you said, like Dave doesn't really have any kind of extended jam on like anything. Glenn, we have seen so many like amazing like Glenn jam outs over the years, and like it's like, oh man, like there's not really any Glenn on this show. There's not really any crazy like Glenn of just fucking.
There's no Pandy Fackler.
Right. Right.
I don't think any of the big Glenn songs are not present on this.
So that would be sort of like my only criticism is not necessarily like, oh, well, there's no jam outs, songs besides Johnny on the Spot. It's like I'm fine with that, but it's like I would have liked to have seen the other guys get a little bit more into a few of them. You know what I mean?
Well, they're all amazing musicians and awesome and all integral parts of the band, I feel. So
totally.
Yeah, to get them to have some fun and get limber, flex the muscles, I think is always fun. But every show is different, and despite that, I just still think you have so many fantastic songs and such an amazingly long set list. 34 songs, it's huge.
Yeah, just insane.
And really a little bit for everyone if you think about it. Like when you have something like Seconds and then Tick, Big Jim, like Touch My Tutor. There's a little bit of Brown mixed in here, and there's a little bit for everybody on this, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and as a matter of fact, I didn't get a chance to tell you this, Roy, but I was talking to a guy who was next to me, who I just met him that night, and I just happened to ask him, how many times he's seen him, and he was like, "Oh, this is my second show," and I was like,
"Oh,
that's okay," and
a newbie.
Yeah, a newbie, right? And I said, "Well, was your first time here last year? Just to guess," and he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, okay. So those 2 Philly Met shows were his only 2 shows. So it's
if
like...
that's your only experience with live Ween, I truly, sincerely hope that you come away with a positive vibe because...
Oh, I'm sure he did.
As a result.
I'm sure.
Because those are definitely 2 great shows. I mean...
Absolutely.
It's interesting to think about the post-reunion, like the current situation versus the old school and in terms of how the set lists are constructed. But make no mistake, the shows since the reunion have all been good shows.
Oh yeah.
They're definitely making the fans happy. And so this show would definitely be one to listen to if you're looking to enjoy Ween.
And if you would have been
it's a great show.
Yeah, and if you would have been to the Boston show the night before, and I didn't go over the whole set list and do any kind of like real studying, but I just counted them up real quick. They only repeated 9 songs. There's only 9 things that they played both nights. So if you would have went to Boston and Philadelphia, hey, I mean, come on. It's not exactly like 2 completely unique shows, but
that's a lot different. I mean,
yeah, that's a lot
ends
different.
Up being 50 songs over 2 nights.
Yeah.
That's a lot of different songs.
Totally.
To hear.
Totally,
so that's great.
Man. Yeah, so that's really cool.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think it's a product of the reunion era is I think you might only have a couple shows bunched together, but there's a good chance they'll be different.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're doing, if they do 2-3 shows at the same venue, they'll just, they'll do 2 completely unique shows, which is...
and I specifically remember that being the case at the Terminal.
Yes.
When they first got back together, each show was like completely different.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's always been the case since then. I'm not sure.
I think so, and I don't really do a whole lot of research into the shows that we don't get a chance to go to.
That's
but
true. If I'm not going to the show, I don't really spend too much time.
But I'm pretty sure that's what they've done. If they do, Colorado 2 nights in a row, it'll be 2, completely unique shows. So that's just great. I mean, like, I just love that whole.
Oh, totally. You get a great variety.
Right. There was a couple of things that happened like during the show, and a couple of people. Like I said, I was right in front of the lobby. I was literally like the last row. So right outside the double doors that were right behind us was the water fountain. So like I said, it was hot. So I was sneaking out to grab a drink at the water fountain a couple of times, and I met a couple of really cool people. I met Mel Gilmore for a split second. Just a girl that I saw at the water fountain, gave her one of the podcast stickers, and she was like, "Oh, you're one of the Weencast guys?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, I like she knew like about us at least. And I said, "Yeah, have you listened to us?" And she says, "Well, no, but I'm friendly with the Godwin Evan guys." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And it was kind of one of those things where I sort of recognized her, and then when she told me what her name was, I kind of recognized her name, but I didn't really put all the pieces together. And then when I saw her on Facebook the next day, like I looked up her on Facebook, and I immediately recognized her. I was like, "Oh, her." It was like, "Oh, okay." Just one of those people that you see on like the Facebook groups like all the time. So it was cool to actually like, I got to meet her, and she was really nice. There was also a dude that I ran into out in the lobby who was wearing a Toys hat, like the Robin Williams movie Toys. And I was like, wait a second, like I got to say something to this dude. I was like, "Is that Toys like the movie?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dude, that's like the coolest fucking hat." So I hooked that guy up with a sticker. I don't know what his name was or what his whole deal was, but I love that hat. And then And then actually, definitely after the show, we were out in the street, and I got to see the one and only, the Reverend B. Ill, for just a split second.
The Reverend B. Ill.
He was a little preoccupied looking for his ride. As soon as I saw him, I just ran up. I wasn't cool about it at all. I was just, on him like that. And I just, Bill, it's Shane, and he was just like, oh, cool, man. I'm just looking for my ride. I'm like, I get it, so
when you're looking for a ride, you got to look for your ride.
I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Sorry. I just backed down immediately. But I got to hand him a sticker. So that was really cool. Just to be able to see him for a split second. Yeah,
no, it was great to get just a quick, give him a sticker and say hello after the interview that we did of Bill Fowler.
Yeah.
Episode, check that out.
Yeah, please check that out. But I mean, everyone was really cool. Everyone was really nice, and like I said, I was handing out a lot of stickers, and some people just didn't know what to make of it because they didn't understand what they even were. Like, what is this? And it's just like, it's a sticker. You know what I mean? That happened.
Doesn't take too much explanation.
Yeah, that happened a couple of times, but for the most part, everyone was really nice, and everyone was really
it's cool.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Just being able to meet people just by here, I'm just gonna hand you this. It's free. Take it. So that was fun.
Yeah, take the sticker.
So yeah, great night.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the long and short of it. It's just good to see that they're still rocking and rolling, and that was certainly a great time. Every time we go up to Philadelphia is an awesome time, and it was nice to have the whole weekend to chill there, and that was the crown jewel of the weekend. So
well, you guys really, and I know you did this the last time for the last show. You guys really do it right, and it is a good way to just treat yourself, is to stay over in Philly. Because there is a lot of stuff to do, and there is a lot of fun to be had. Not just
an awesome place.
Yeah, not just going to the show. Unfortunately, we should have had a little bit more time. We did the best we could to get down there and have some time to just chill out with you guys, and we did what we could. But of course, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we say we're going to leave at this time in the afternoon. Does it actually happen that way? No. So I apologize for not being down there earlier.
Well, everything lined up in such a way that that it's not like we checked off all the boxes, and it's not like we missed the show or something. So
yeah, right.
It was awesome, but we kind of both of our Amy and my wife and I's birthdays are in December, so we've sort of made this a big double birthday present to ourselves.
It's a great idea.
Spend a weekend up in Philadelphia.
It's a great idea, and also
go to see Ween.
And you guys took home one of the posters.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and we actually Amy grabbed it. As soon as she got through security, she was beeline to the merch. And it's funny because I thought the merch was on the other side for some reason. So if I was responsible for that, I wouldn't have gotten the poster. Because I think she said as soon as she got it, after that, they put down the sign or whatever, and it was no, there's no more of those.
Yeah.
So she got, I don't know if she got the last one, but she got one of the last ones.
Did you happen to catch? Signed. Did you happen to catch how many of them there were? It was probably 100.
No, and I rolled it up and put it in the tube, and
right.
And haven't looked at it since, to be honest. We're probably gonna hold off on framing it for a little bit. The last year we got it framed right away, but money's a little tight. If truth be told.
Yeah. Same here.
So anyway, we will be holding off on the framing. But yeah, dude, it's just part of the whole birthday part of it, and I honestly, I'm starting to accumulate more and more posters, to be honest. I used to be able to say I don't really have posters, but I have a little gallery on my landing on my second floor, and it's full of Ween art.
I actually
more and more posters.
Yeah, I have a lot of posters that are still in tubes from years and years ago. So I've kind of stopped buying them, but this was a really cool poster. And
yeah.
There was a really cool.
You got to get a place to hang those up, dude. You got to make a little gallery like I have.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have in my rec room, I have I think 4 currently framed Ween posters, but I probably have about 5 or 6 more that are still in the tubes from over the years. And it's one of those things. It's just so expensive, and to have it done right, it just costs too much money to, be plunking.
Well, you always got to wait for the big box stores do like the 50% off. Like
right.
Michaels will. You just got to wait for the 50% off coupon that's actually for framing.
Right.
And then you kind of roll in there and drop them all off.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of money. That's the crazy shit. It's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
To frame something, even when you get the discount.
Right. There was a really cool shirt which had, and Craig almost bought one actually. It was sort of like satellites. It was like 2-3 different like satellites going like in different directions, and it was a shirt like I've never really seen before, especially by, like a Ween shirt. Like it didn't really seem to like speak to me in terms of like a Ween shirt. It was cool though, and like you were saying earlier, I think it just had 3 shows on the back. It was was it Colorado, Boston, and Philly, I think.
I think so.
If I'm not mistaken.
So limited edition, limited edition.
Yeah.
And then that's what Ween is. It's like a limited edition liqueur.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, if you were at this show, which I know that there was a lot of you, we want to hear you. We want to hear from you.
Yeah. Hit us up. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube. All the places. We're out there.
All the platforms,
just look for us,
or just send us an email, man. Weencastpodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Give us some love.
Yeah. Tell us your story. If you were at the show and you had a different perspective or some crazy thing happened, tell us about it and we'll spread the word.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear from you guys.
So, unless you have anything else, Rory?
Nah, man. I think we covered all the bases. I appreciate everyone listening, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Weencast.
We really hope to have this up at least a couple days before Christmas. So, if you're listening to this over your holiday break, we hope you have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, if I dare say. Happy New Year. Probably going to take a little bit of time off for the holidays, but we will be back in early 2020 sometime. We have some plans for the new year and look forward to hitting us up again soon.
Yeah. Peace be with everyone. Happy solstice. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. So peace, everybody. We out.
Later.